On August 30th, 2007, the Phillies completed a 4-game sweep of the New York Mets in dramatic fashion. In what can only be described as a slugfest, the Phillies found themselves down 10-9 in the bottom of the 9th inning. Jason Worth led off the inning with a signal off Mets closer Billy Wagner. Worth proceeded to steal second. And then, for good measure, he stole third. Tadahito Iguchi then drove in the tying run with an RBI single.
Line drive hit to left field. This game is tied. Coming in to score is Worth. We are knotted at 10-10 here in the 9th inning. Can you believe it?
Wow, Jason Worth, what an effort by him to make that happen.
He too stole second. And with one out, the Mets opted to give Jimmy Rollins an intentional pass, setting up a double play with a lefty-on-lefty matchup between Wagner and Chase Utley. But Utley had other things in mind. He proceeded to hit a single to right field that drove in the winning run.
Line drive hit to right field. Here comes Iguchi. The throw to the plate. Phillies win 11-10 on an RBI single by Chase Utley. What a huge win. What a huge series for the fighting Phils, who sweep the New York Mets.
And while the Phillies were still 2 games behind the Mets in the standings, the 4-game sweep of the series at Citizens Bank Park was a prelude of what was to come in September. Welcome to Philadelphia Baseball History. On this channel, we talk about the history of baseball from the A's to the Phillies to the 19th century. And sometimes we talk about contemporary baseball issues. So if you love baseball, and if you love Philadelphia, stick around and subscribe to our channel. How do you show your home team pride? With mugs, t-shirts, masks, phone cases, tote bags, and so much more. Check out tpublic.com and search for Philadelphia Baseball History. The Phillies commanded some respect from the pundits going into the 2007 season. Sports writers respected the team's rotation and powerful lineup. The big question mark was the bullpen. Most preseason forecasts predicted a tight race between the Mets and the Phillies, with the edge given the Mets due to their pitching. But the Braves couldn't be counted out. The expectation was that the National League East was going to be a competitive division in 2007. Philly shortstop Jimmy Rollins certainly made it clear whom he thought was the team to beat in the National League East.
You say right now that because you're pitching that you guys are the team to beat in the NL East?
I think we are the team to beat in the NL East, finally.
It was a boast that would serve as motivation for the teams out of New York and Atlanta, but also as a nudge to the Phils to perform their best when it counted the most. After emerging from spring training, unfortunately, the Phillies suffered a number of setbacks. The Phillies opened the season in Atlanta, where they were swept by the Braves. The reigning National League MVP, Ryan Howard, strained his thigh in mid-April. After playing on an injured leg for a while, Howard landed on the disabled list in May. Flash Gordon, whom the Phillies expected to be their closer for the season, went on the DL on May 2nd, only to return to play in mid-July. Gordon would be joined by Ryan Madson and then Brett Myers. In June, the list of the injured expanded to include pitchers Francisco Rosario and John Lieber. And by the end of April, the Phillies were 11-14. They wouldn't reach 500 until June 3rd. This uninspired baseball continued through the All-Star break, when the Phillies posted a 44-44 record. Coming out of the All-Star break, however, the Phillies' prospects began to improve. They went 12-8 from the All-Star break through the end of July, fueled in part by a resurgent Ryan Howard. Howard hit .323 in July with an OPS of 1.14, 10 home runs, and 29 RBIs. Led by former Phillies killer and now Phillies coach Davey Lopes, the team became more aggressive on the base paths. Jimmy Rollins and Shane Victorino led the way. But even players like Howard got into the act, who got his first career stolen base in August. The Phillies brought in help to shore up the pitching staff. They added Kyle Kendrick and J.C. Romero to their Major League roster. Both contributed to the Phillies' resurgence. Despite their early struggles, a number of individuals stepped up in extraordinary ways. This included former Rule 5 acquisition Shane Victorino, the Flying Hawaiian, whom the Phillies honored with a bobblehead giveaway and a Victorino Hula Day at Citizens Bank Park. Victorino couldn't help but be the hero on his special day with a walk-off home run. One of the brightest spots in the first half of the Phillies season was second baseman Chase Utley. He was batting .325 by the All-Star break with an OPS of .972. Utley posted impressive numbers in June and July. By July 26th, he had hit 17 home runs and knocked in 82 RBIs. But after getting hit by a pitch in a game against the Nationals, Utley suffered a broken wrist, placing him on the disabled list. The Phillies responded by obtaining second baseman Tadahito Iguchi, who performed splendidly down the stretch. But just as the Phillies were heating up, they lost their speedy right fielder Victorino to the DL. But once again, the replacement who stepped in performed remarkably. This time it was Jason Worth. Worth's numbers in August were outstanding, as he hit .414 with an OPS of 1.109. Meanwhile, Jimmy Rollins was having the best season of his career. Not only did he exhibit Gold Glove skills on defense, but offensively, he racked up the stats. Hitting close to .300 on the season, Rollins joined the 30-30 club, hitting 30 home runs and stealing a total of 41 bases. From the leadoff spot, Rollins knocked in 94 runs, scored a National League leading 139 times, and also led the NL in triples with 20. By the end of August, the Phillies had climbed into second place. They were 6 games behind the division-leading Mets when the Mets came to Citizens Bank Park for a 4-game series. Spurred by home runs by Pat Burrell, Chase Utley, and Tadahito Iguchi, the Phillies blew the Mets away in the first game on August 27th. In the second game on August 28th, the Phillies relied on extra inning heroics by Ryan Howard, whose 2-run walk-off home run put the Mets away. With Jamie Mohr holding the Mets to 2 runs in the third game, the Phillies offense was provided by first-inning home runs by Jimmy Rollins and Pat Burrell. Burrell would then knock in the winning run in the 5th inning as his sacrifice fly brought home Mohr. August 30th saw a back-and-forth game, with the teams exchanging the lead, until the Phillies found themselves down by 2 in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Chopped softly. Only you get 1. Joe Rowe gets the out at first base. That's only the second out. It's 10-8 Mets.
A Pat Burrell home run brought the Phillies to within 1
Did he do it again? Yes, he did. Out of here. Takes Billy Wagner deep once again. His second homer of the game, his 24th of the year. And it's now a 1-run game.
RBI singles in the 9th by Iguchi and Utley, a former teammate Billy Wagner, sealed the 4-game streak for the Phillies and brought them to within 2 games of the Mets in the standings. But then, the Phillies had a setback in Florida, followed by a rough series in Atlanta. After splitting a 4-game series at home against the Rockies, the Phils were 6.5 games behind the Mets by the end of the day on September 13th, and tied with the Dodgers in a tight race for the wild-card spot. Ahead of them, the Phillies faced a tough 3-game series at Shea Stadium. And this is where the story suddenly flips. On September 14th, after giving up 2 runs early to the Mets, Chase Utley tied the game up in the 6th with a 2-run home run. As the game went into extras, the score tied at 2. Jason Worth started off the 10th with a single. An error by catcher Mike DeFelice on a Carlos Ruiz bunt that went foul gave Chooch new life. Ruiz then laid down what would be a sacrifice bunt to get Worth into scoring position, but pitcher Aaron Heilman chose to throw to second to try to get Worth as the lead runner. Worth beat out the throw, putting 2 men on base with nobody out. Abraham Nunez, playing third base for the Phillies, then bunted Worth and Ruiz over. Greg Dobbs came in as a pinch hitter and hit a long fly ball to center field, which scored Worth the go-ahead run. Brett Myers then came in to retire the side in the bottom of the 10th and preserve the Phillies' win. A Mets miscue likewise figured into the September 15th game. Down by 2 in the top of the 7th, Tadahito Iguchi started the inning off with a double. An error by shortstop Jimmy Reyes on a Jimmy Rollins ground ball allowed Iguchi to score, bringing the Phils to within 1. The bottom of the 8th then saw a home run by Aaron Rowan and an RBI triple by Jimmy Rollins to give the Phillies the lead. J.C. Romero and Flash Gordon shut the Mets down in the bottom of the 8th, and after a rocky start to the 9th, Brett Myers settled down to retire the Mets and preserve the win. The Mets continued to fall apart in the third game of the series. 6 Mets errors translated into 4 unearned runs on September 16th. A Greg Dobbs grand slam sealed the deal for the Phillies with a 10-6 victory. The Phillies had swept the Mets again, this time in Shea Stadium, bringing the Phillies to within 3.5 games of first place with 13 games to go. The Mets and the Phillies then went on completely different paths. The Phillies went on to St. Louis, where Ryan Howard had a history of performing well in his hometown. The Missouri State alumni hit 2 home runs in the September 17th game, including a 6th-inning grand slam to give the Phillies a 13-11 victory. The Cardinals then resorted to giving Howard nothing to hit, as they walked the big piece 6 times in the next 2 games. Nonetheless, the Phillies exited St. Louis with a series win under their belt, ready to head to the nation's capital. In a 4-game series against the Nationals, Howard belted out 2 home runs and knocked in a total of 5 RBIs, helping the Phillies to win 3 games over the Nationals at RFK Stadium. As the Braves came to Philadelphia, home runs by Victorino, Howard, and Burrell all helped to give the Phils another crucial series win. The Mets, meanwhile, ran into some trouble with the Nationals and the Cardinals, allowing the Phillies to pull into a tie with the Mets as both teams went into their final series of the season. The Phils faced the Nationals at Citizens Bank Park, while the Mets faced the Marlins in New York. By the end of the day on September 28th, a Phillies victory that included 2 home runs by Ryan Howard, as well as RBIs by Utley and Cole Hamels, combined with a Mets loss, gave the Phillies sole possession of first place. But when the Mets trounced the Marlins on the 29th, and the Phillies fell in a close contest to the Nationals, the teams were once again tied in the standings going into the final game of the season. With the season on the line, the game in New York started 20 minutes earlier than the game at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies faithful erupted in cheers as the out-of-town scoreboard showed that the Marlins took an early lead in the first inning. The wheels were coming off the Mets bandwagon as Tom Glavine couldn't get his footing in the first inning. Glavine had already given up a walk, 2 hits, and a run, when his throwing error allowed Cody Ross to score after hitting a 2 RBI double. Glavine would be yanked when he hit Marlins pitcher Dontrelle Williams with the bases loaded, allowing the 5th run of the inning. When Jorge Hosa gave up a double to Dan Uggla, the resulting 2 runs were charged to Glavine. It was with this energy in the crowd that the Phillies knew that if they could pull out a win against the Nationals, they were very likely going to win the division. Chase Utley would get to work right away, driving home Jimmy Rollins in the first with a sacrifice fly. Ryan Howard would add to the Phillies' lead with an RBI single in the third. After the Nats scored their only run in the fourth, the Phillies came back in the sixth. Iguchi hit a sacrifice fly to score Michael Bourne, who came in as a pinch runner for Pat Burrell. Rollins then hit his 20th triple of the season, knocking in the Phillies' 5th run. Ryan Howard would cap things off with a solo shot in the 7th. When the dust had settled, the Phillies had beaten the Nationals 6-1, and in New York, the Mets fell to the Marlins 8-1. The Phillies had clinched the National League East, while the Mets were out of the postseason. But the late season heroics took a toll on the Phillies as they were swept in the playoffs by the NL West champion Colorado Rockies. But the way that the Phillies were able to take advantage of a late-season Mets collapse and make good on Jimmy Rollinson's preseason boast still furnishes Phillies fans with fond memories of the 2007 season. Phillies fans would only have to wait one more year to experience the second World Championship in their team's history, as the core of the 2007 team would return and make an indelible mark on the NL East over a 5-year period. If you enjoyed hearing about the 2007 Phillies, give us a like, tell your friends about us, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you have any ideas for topics that we can cover in the future, please let us know in the comments below. If you would like to see more of these videos, please consider becoming a patron through Patreon. Again, we'll have a link in the description box below.